Okay. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Good? Okay. Yeah, I think so. Yes? Okay. Chief, we have a seat for you. Thank you. Aloha, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, Governor Josh Green will be signing several bills that will support the Hawaii State Judiciary in its efforts to facilitate fair and effective justice, promote rehabilitation, and reduce recidivism. Facilitated questions and answers with the media will follow promptly after remarks conclude, and the formal bill signing will commence shortly thereafter. Without further ado, it is my privilege and honor to introduce Governor Josh Green.
Hello, everyone. We're going to dive right in. So this will be a week of bill signing, essentially. So I'm very happy to see legislative leaders. Thank you, guys, very, very much. CJ, fantastic to see you. I really mean it. We're going to sign a couple bills today. We're highlighting two bills. We're going to go through some slides that support the Hawaii State Judiciary's effort to facilitate fair and effective justice, promoting rehabilitation, reducing recidivism, as was said. These bills, along with others, are meant to ensure that our state's judiciary system has adequate funding, that's the budget, and resources to support its critical mission. We're also going to say a special mahalo to our dear friend, the Chief Justice. So Chief Justice Rechtenwald has worked tirelessly for more than a decade advocating for people's justice, preparing as he is for his retirement this year. We thought this a good time to thank him. So just a small round of applause for CJ. Thank you. So let's dive right into these two bills. First, we go to House Bill 400, the Judiciary Budget. So what does this bill do? It appropriates $214 million in fiscal year 2026 and $212 million in fiscal year 2027 for their operating budget at the judiciary. There are new permanent staff positions, which they will unpack, a new district court judge, and support staff in Kona, my old home, and the home of a beautiful courthouse. Again, thanks to the work of the judiciary chairs, the CJ, their whole team. There's a lot of IT and tech support in this budget. It makes permanent 3 specialty courts on Oahu, and it allocates $4 million for designing and planning of the South Kohala District Court of the Third Circuit. Again, something that's dear to me, having come from that area. Some of the other highlights of these courts: Women's Court, the Driving While Impaired Court, and the Truancy Court, also their early intervention program, all coming together. So you could see that what we're doing, hopefully in support of the judiciary, is making justice more possible. The Women's Court is special. There are circumstances that women face that are often overlooked, but not by this CJ, not by our entire judiciary, and certainly not by the women leaders in our legislature. So thank you, guys, very, very much. We're going to also pop over to the next slide. Let's take a look at what the Women's Court actually looks like. So a couple high points. This bill permanently establishes the Women's Court program to implement trauma-informed care and evidence-based practices as part of the judiciary system. It provides services to women in the court system to reduce recidivism for women inmates after they've been released from prison. And a lot of extraordinary work has been done by leaders across the spectrum, not the least of which I should mention, I think, is Governor Lingle, who is staring at me right now from that picture. But she and other women leaders have been stepping up along with our team here. So kudos to Governor Lingle and others. This was a pilot program in 22, as I said, known as Mohala Wahine, formed in response to the increase of women in the judicial system. A lot of people face abuse. They've, whether they're men or women, end up with drug addiction, end up in the courts, and end up in prison. And if we can do more to help people get through their struggles, we should. That's what I think this is about. This program was established to make incredible strides forward and has been a passion project of this CJ, who may not be a woman, but seems to be very in tune with the needs of those who are struggling and women in prison. And then finally, it also creates this women's court pilot program from the Third Circuit, giving the same kind of services in Kona. You know, the neighbor islands often have more difficulty finding legal representation. They often don't have as many resources as we see on Oahu. And so when we focus on the neighbor islands a little bit differently, I think it's very smart. So again, it's greatly appreciated. There are often not adequate community-based services outside of Oahu. So, you know, this is an important move. So let's go to the next slide. Oh, this is the big hug for the CJ, this slide. Okay, so I've known the Chief Justice before he was the Chief Justice. I was fortunate enough to serve in the House and Senate when he was coming up the ranks in different departments. And so his perspective has been extraordinary. I really appreciate everything about the CJ except for his commitment to the Chicago Cubs and the Bears. So he's been a great Chief Justice. He propelled us to a position that is extraordinarily well regarded. 6th nationally rank in the Justice Index for access to justice. That's what these courts are about, getting people extra access to justice for people who are homeless, for people who have not had adequate concern met. And so it's really been something to wonder at. There have been multiple diversion and specialty court programs, which we talked about. Community outreach court. We all know how we struggle with those who are on the streets and how they're struggling because we just don't get them adequate support, care. And that's why I'm so grateful to the legislature for, you know, going on this journey together to find more housing for people, to get shelter for people. But it's also about justice and making sure that we don't just have this constant cycle of incarceration without rehabilitation. So much has been done. I probably should take this moment to also single out Carl. So Carl has been writing legislation over and over and over again, improving it each year for community access to treatment, but also to help people come off the street but not face lifelong judicial problems. And a lot of the individuals we're talking about are suffering mental illness. So it all comes together when we look at what this package is about. But back to the CJ, it was Community Outreach Court, Women's Court, Veterans Court, and the Environmental Court are all signature achievements. CJ advocated for the protection and promotion of judgeships, and he's expanded access to our services throughout his tenure, not the least of which, as I mentioned before, was fighting hard for the people of Kona to get that new courthouse, which we all went and we swore in some new judges who are phenomenal. We've had private conversations about, and I hope CJ won't be, caught off guard by this. That's very positive. Don't worry, CJ. Yeah, we've talked about being more balanced and fair with the courts, and fighting for equality in the courts. I think in this last year, we've surged forward with the number of women judges, and it's because the applications have been extraordinary. It's not about gender per se, but historically, when there was an imbalance, it wasn't right. And the CJ was very thoughtful as he's, promoted judges and actually recommended judges to our team and to the Judicial Selection Committee. So it has been an incredible run. Thank you, CJ. We're going to wish you our very best, and we're going to lean on you to continue to help us make Hawaii extraordinary. So thank you again. A round of applause for you, buddy. So we're going to have plenty of time for questions, but I wanted to now cede the podium to the many leaders that that helped us get here, and we have representatives from the House and Senate who kind of led their caucus this session to get these bills forward.
Mahalo, Governor. I don't know if you are aware, you probably are, that the Women's Court graduated its first class yesterday and received tons of positive media coverage. So congratulations to all involved in making that happen. Mahalo, Governor. And now I would like to welcome, with great honor, Hawaii Chief Justice Mark Rechtenwald.
Good afternoon, aloha. I think I'm going to have what he's having, whatever that is. I want to thank the governor for inviting us here today. It's a very, very special occasion. I've been Chief Justice for 15 years. I think what's happened in this last session was historic. The level of support for so many of our most important programs, and the fact that programs that are really making a difference in our communities, whether it's community outreach court, helping folks who are largely homeless, or women's court, who are helping women who've suffered trauma, who find themselves in the criminal justice system. Programs like this actually make a difference in very tangible ways in our community. And folks have worked with us on these programs for many, many years, and here we have them being made permanent, being expanded, and the needs of our community met by the legislature and with the governor and his support. So it's a very, very big day for us as a justice system, and it's a really important day for our community. I'm so grateful for everyone who's made this day possible. The folks at the legislature who worked on these bills, we have Chair Rhodes is here, Rep. Tarnas, who's the Judiciary Chair, not able to make it today, but Vice Chair Poi Poi is here. We have really strong judiciary chairs, which I think is something that's been very, very important for our community. We have great folks in the money committees, Rep. Yamashita, Chair Dela Cruz, and great leadership at the top of both the Senate and the House, President Kochi and Speaker Nakamura. So we really have a great, great team in the legislature who's been strongly supportive of us throughout my tenure. And again, this is all sort of coming together today with the signing of these bills. And to me, it's a historic day for our justice system. I want to thank the folks on my team who've made this possible. Rod Miley, who is our longtime administrative director, who will be retiring sometime soon. And I ask you all to join me in acknowledging Rod for his service. And we have Dalen Heather and Brandon Kimura who work tirelessly on these bills. And I see so many of our legislators here, and I'm grateful that they're here today. They're folks we've worked with years and years and years on really important issues. And to see some of these bills come to fruition is a very, very special thing for me. I see Rep. Ichiyama, who we worked with on the Women's Court project over the years, and many others who I see my own representative, Rep. Martin, who is very important in the Community Outreach Court program, and just to see all these folks who've played such a big role in improving our system of justice and really learning the issues, digging in on the issues, and coming up with really thoughtful solutions and sticking with it for years on end, I think is an incredible testament to our legislature. I'm very grateful they're here today. I want to thank the governor for his leadership. As Governor mentioned, he and I go back, I think it was back to 2007. I think when you were a rep, I was either just coming into the judiciary or was still at the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. We are very blessed to have a governor who's a medical doctor. I've seen that over and over again. The expertise that he brings, the knowledge that he brings helps us find solutions that really help the people of Hawaii. Best example I can think of is work we've been able to do on mentally ill folks who are in the criminal justice system. He knows that issue inside out. He's been committed for years and years to come up with alternatives where we can divert people who are nonviolent but who have mental illness, who come into the system, rather than incarcerating them or sending them to the state hospital to be made competent to come back for a court hearing and then released on the street with no ongoing treatment. We have a different and a better model, and that's something that he's pioneered. And that model is getting folks treatment and making sure that they have an ongoing way of being able to move forward positively in their lives. And the other huge step that we took last year was the opening of a drop-off center in Kaka'ako, where the police, when they see somebody on the street who seems to be acting in a way that, the neighbors have called, there was a bottle broken, somebody sort of hostilely approach the neighborhood, somebody in the neighborhood. Police are called. And again, it makes no sense to incarcerate these folks unless they're violent. That's a different story. But if they're just acting in a way that's causing disruption in the community, let's take them to a place where we can access services, help them move in a positive way. That's what this drop-off center is all about. And it's strongly supported by the police department because they can go there and do a warm handoff to mental health professionals who can work with these folks rather than having to go sit outside of Queens, ER, or Kekela Ward for 6 hours for the rest of their shift. So it's a huge step forward. And again, that's all because of you, Governor. And I think I see it over and over again, working with the Governor during the pandemic. Again, huge challenges for us as a court system. The Governor was always there, was always smart in his approach, was always supportive of our employees first and foremost across the state. And I'm so grateful that we were able to weather that challenge. And then the challenges posed over on Maui by the Lahaina fires. And again, Governor was over there constantly, and I was over there and I saw him over and over again going to that community, talking to people, which is what we were trying to do too. What does the community need? And that was always first and foremost in his mind. So thank you, Governor, for everything you've been able to do for our community. Just want to shout out super quick to the folks who are here, and we're going to be talking about Community Outreach Court in a minute, but we have, I believe we have Judge Hayes here. Judge Park Ho'opili is here, and they're really doing a great job with that court. They can answer your questions. And then for Women's Court, I have to shout out to Judge Trish Morikawa. I hope you all were able to see the coverage of the event yesterday. The first 6 women who graduated from that program, I can't even begin to approach the level of eloquence that some of them spoke of, about how they had set goals for themselves when they went in this program and achieved those goals of being able to be clean and sober for a substantial amount of time, getting housing, getting a job, getting custody of their children back. And to hear them and hear their stories, to me, was one of the most satisfying days I've ever had as Chief Justice, because it takes really hard work. And that's Judge Morikawa on the front line in that courtroom, supporting those women when they go through tough times, which they go through. It's really hard if you've been using meth for years and years and years to break that habit. But we have great probation officers, Cy Aganon, our lead probation officer, Judge Morikawa. They're out there helping and fighting and supporting and working and cajoling and providing whatever support they can to help these women succeed. So it's an incredibly good program, and I'm so grateful that it's been made permanent by the bills that are being signed here today, and also so grateful that it's going to be expanded to the Big Island. I see former Chief Judge Kim is here. I want to thank him and Judge DeWeese for being open to trying this new approach on the Big Island, and we look forward to looking at other islands as well. So once again, mahalo to our partners in the executive branch, to Governor Green and his team. Mahalo to our partners in the legislature, and very, very excited and grateful to be here for this, in my view, historic day. Thank you.
Mahalo, Chief Justice Rechtenwald. Now please welcome Senator Carl Rhodes, Chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here, and thank you both, Chief Justice and Governor, for all your support on what has started out as an issue for me. I live in Chinatown, and unfortunately, Chinatown is known for mentally ill people wandering around and causing problems, and for themselves and for those around them. So I'm going to focus just on one bill that's one that's not going to be signed right now, but is in this package. It's HB 398. This is compensation for court-appointed representation in family court. It sounds pretty arcane. It is pretty arcane, but it's really important, and I'm going to just briefly tell you why. So if you are, if it's suspected when you're arrested for something that you may have a mental illness, there's several things that can be done. There's several places that you might end up depending on how bad you are. So if you're a danger to yourself or others and there's no other way to deal with you, then you can be taken to the state hospital and held there until the situation is resolved, and you can be released at some future point, maybe, if you can. The next step down is what is called an assisted community treatment, and that is a petition is filed on your behalf. If you're a danger to yourself or others, you're not necessarily required, well, you're not required to be in the state hospital, but you are required to take your medications. Below that, it would be assistance from the Adult Mental Health Division at the Department of Health. Especially the middle one, the assisted community treatment. So it's a continuum of care, and that, of course, is what many of us, including my 06 classmate, Representative Bellotti, we're two of the few left from that class, we've been working on for years to try to make it more of a medical decision. Even though we're both attorneys, we think that these are decisions that primarily need to be made by doctors. So HB 398 increases the court-appointed fees that can be paid to guardians ad litem. Everybody's like, guardians ad litem. Most people have some idea what a guardian is, but a guardian ad litem is just somebody who's supposed to look out for the best interests of someone who's in a court proceeding. So you have to have a guardian ad litem. It's required by the statute if you're going to be the subject of a assisted community treatment petition. They're supposed to look out for your best interests during that proceeding. Problem is, if we don't pay them enough, no one wants the job. And that's happened, of course, in other areas too, like in the criminal side, where judges have the ability to appoint attorneys for those who are being charged with a criminal offense. And we, in a different bill, HB 396, we did increase that, which hadn't been increased in 20 years too. So thank you, Governor, for signing that one too. In any case, HB 398 increases the reimbursements that you can get for that, which hopefully will mean that we get more people who are willing to serve as guardian ad litems, which will streamline the process for those who are in that sort of intermediate level of mental health acuity, so that they will have someone that can go to court with them, look out for the best interests, and the judge, a family court judge, can decide whether or not they need to have treatment and at what level. So mahalo for both judiciary and the executive branch support on that. There's something called the Miami model, which some of you may have read about, but as the people who have been proponents of that have said, the Miami model was a 20-year overnight success. Well, this is the same kind of thing. Many of us have been working on this for many years, and we are to a point where I think we can legitimately say it's being a success. There's still stuff to do, but the bills that we passed today are very important for that, and I would point out particularly HB 398. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Senator Rhodes. Next, I would like to welcome Representative Mahina Poipoi, Vice Chair of the House Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee.
Aloha, everyone. Mahalo to Governor Green and Speaker Nakamura for inviting me to say a few words today on House Bills 400 and 727. As the Vice Chair of the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee, I'm overall really proud of the body of work that we got through this year. I'm proud to have worked so closely alongside Chair Tarnas and across Senator Rhodes on delivering a budget to the judiciary that is really robust and provides a lot of critical support to the agency. It's my hope that the investments made in this budget will help build a justice system that is more holistic, that is more supportive, and that is more responsive to our community's needs as we go forward in the future. The Oahu Women's Court program, I think, is such a powerful example of what this evolution in justice can look like. I was honored this year to introduce HB 727 on behalf of the Women's Caucus, and thank you to the Women's Caucus for trusting me to introduce this bill. The bill makes the Oahu Women's Court permanent and establishes a new pilot program in the Kona District Court. Yesterday, alongside several of our colleagues, I was able to attend the Women's Court as it graduated its first cohort of participants. And through this trauma-informed, gender-responsive program, they're getting sober, they're reuniting with their children and with their families and holding down jobs, securing housing, and it's such an incredible thing to have been able to witness and see them coming out of this program with so much hope for the future. And I really hope that those women know that, especially the inaugural class, that their success and their perseverance and commitment to the program really solidified for us why it should be made permanent. And I hope that they know that they helped to lay the foundation for generations of women that are going to come after them. And this is what justice that heals can look like. And the prospect of continuing to build not only this program, but other programs that can help provide alternatives to incarceration, I think is something that is really positive for our state going forward, and something that I know I hope to continue to work on in the future. So those are my words, and thank you very much, and I look forward to getting these bills signed today.
Mahalo, Representative Poi Poi. We will now take questions from the media, and we will begin with Dan Nakaso, Star Advertiser.
Thanks, Erica. Questions for any of the speakers? Community Outreach Court is expanded across Oahu to locations across Oahu. There have been many success stories. Are you hearing any calls from the neighbor islands to use that model? You're establishing a pilot for women's court in Kona.
Yes. So I'm just going to make a brief comment, and then I'm going to turn this to CJ. The goal is to gradually expand and make sure that the need is there for all of our communities. Each island is a little bit different. Each county has different needs. The needs have been profound for community court here on Oahu, based on the population of those who are struggling on the streets. But a lot of times we just get kind of a quick bite at the apple in our in one jurisdiction, and then we know we can expand it broadly. As you can see, there is some cost associated with each of the specialty courts, but where there's healing involved, I think it's well worth it. CJ?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And I think your question highlights one of the real challenges as you go out into the neighbor islands. The level of resources that are there in terms of mental health resources or job resources is not as strong as on Oahu. So there are some challenges in bringing these programs to the neighbor islands. But to me, the model is a sound one. And if we're able to identify places where we have buy-in from the community, because that's critical too. We're literally out. We're out at libraries. We're out at community centers. The court convenes, with the judge sometimes just sitting across a picnic table from the individuals who are coming in. So you sort of need buy-in both from the prosecutors, public defenders, you need treatment providers, and you need a court that has the ability and resources to be able to take it on. But to me, it's a really good model, and it's something that I hope we could bring to the other islands. Yeah. Okay.
No follow-up there. New reporter Bill from KICD.
Aloha. It's not every day we see all three branches coming together like this. What does this level of collaboration say about the state's priorities for justice reform?
So thank you for that question. Society's been struggling terribly over the last decade. We went through a lot together, whether it was the pandemic, which isolated people, the fire, which required incredible perseverance and collaboration. We just don't have the time or capacity to not be together, honestly. We are a close-knit family. The truth is I got to serve in the legislature for a long time and have deep respect for my colleagues to become serious veterans like Della and Carl and so many new people. So I have that perspective, so it's easy for me to understand the perspective of the legislature. And after 15 years with the CJ, we've had a lot of time together. So we know each other's cadence. We know that Hawaii is not going to wait for solutions from the mainland. And also the added pressure that we're seeing right now with some turbulence, if I'm going to be nice about it, coming out of Washington, D.C., and the cuts that are there, we see ourselves needing to kind of come together and use our resources sensibly. I think that's why the collegiality is there. But I'll let our dear retiring CJ comment.
I think, again, I talked about this a little bit in my remarks, but we have a lot of factors here in Hawaii that enable us to come together and get the most out of the resources we have. And, let me stress, one of the highest priorities for me as Chief Justice was access to justice, which is helping folks who are coming into the civil justice system who can't afford a lawyer and help them either get a lawyer or help them be able to represent themselves effectively. And that's an area where we've made great strides. Governor referred to us being ranked 6th nationally. And that's not adjusted for resources, that's just period. And the reason for that is because we have such a strong collaborative community, both with the bar, with the executive branch, and with the legislative branch. And we've been able to come together in ways that bring volunteer resources to bear and make real difference in our community. We have these things called self-help centers in each of our courthouses where attorneys come and volunteer to give maybe 15 or 20 minutes of advice or information to folks in that community who find themselves having to come into court for a case. And that's been almost 40,000 people we've helped, and at almost no cost to the government. But another really important piece of the equation is support for our civil legal services providers, like Legal Aid and others. And that's something, and I didn't mention in my remarks, but I believe we have well over $1 million, close to $2 million in additional support provided by this budget for those for our legal service providers, and that's a huge commitment to the community. And that money spent on civil legal services, the payback is something in the order of 6 to 1 in terms of avoided costs, in terms of enabling people to access benefits that they might deserve at the federal level. And so it's a win-win for everybody. And again, I think we have a very unique set of relationships between our branches of government, and certainly with the leadership we have in the legislature and the governor's leadership. It's been a pleasure to work with them. Yeah.
Oh, we have. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Senator. Please go ahead.
Can't leave the legislative branch out of this entirely. I would say just a couple things. One is that this is the way it's supposed to work, especially on these really complicated problems. The judiciary and the legislative branch and the executive, we all have our roles to play. There is built-in tension in the system, so we don't always agree about everything. But when you have complex problems, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to work with the other branches of government and make the whole thing work for the people. Well, at the federal level, that's not happening, and I won't say anything more than that. But we have a different model in Hawaii, even though the basic setup is the same. The executive branch isn't spending all their time attacking the judiciary, and you guys don't know the whole story. But this is how it's supposed to work, and it's absolutely essential when you have really difficult, complicated problems like dealing with mental illness. Thank you.
Mahalo, Senator. Governor, we have an additional question from Gil at KITV.
It was described as strides, this initiative, and looking to the finish line in the future. What would success look like a year from now, especially on the neighboring islands?
Which bill specifically you're talking about?
Just the community outreach. One's the women's court and that one.
Yeah, I think, well, I'll first comment, and we'll give CJ and perhaps Carl the final words. The success is that people don't struggle quite so much, and that they get better in their lives. That's really what it's about. I think the best reflection you have is what just happened yesterday, which is seeing people actually come through the judicial process better, healthier. That's really what I believe is the right stride to take and to make. There are so many things that we can do better for people. If people are lazy in their states, if they don't go really look at what their citizens are struggling with, it's very easy just to prosecute, convict, and incarcerate. That is the easiest thing to do. The hardest thing to do is to find out what really has gone on in a person's life, find out what justice looks like for them, and then get them the right care. And that care can come in the form of a social worker or a healthcare provider or a lawyer and their team that knows how they'll get help. So the extraordinary work that's gone on in a small state where we actually know our people is what this is about. I would say we have a long-term goal of incarcerating far fewer people and helping many more people get access to health care and to some form of healing as they come through their great challenges. Almost everyone who commits crime is struggling with a past trauma in their lives or a current trauma that may involve addiction. I don't want to oversimplify, the circumstances of breaking the law, but That's what I've seen anyway. And so if we can get to their trauma and we can do it in a compassionate way in the community, people are going to do better. That's what success will look like. And we have this ongoing back and forth about how big should the next jail be? Do we upgrade our prisons or do we move more towards therapeutic settings? We're thinking about that all the time, all these people in the room. And we would really like to be a state that helps people heal rather than incarcerates them.
Mahalo, Governor. At this time, I would like to invite Governor Green, our state legislators, and any key stakeholders to come up to the podium for the formal bill signing and subsequent picture taking.
So first, honored to sign House Bill 400. This is related to Judiciary. This is the CJ's last budget. Basically, it's a $400 million check. So
I'll take that. Thank you. Thank you, Governor.
Everyone, 3, 2, and 1. Mahalo. Okay. As you know, this next bill is relating to the Women's Court, and this is really fundamentally about better justice for women. And we give all the credit to the women's caucuses and the leadership of the Judiciary for making sure we just do better.
Aloha, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes our formal bill signing today. Mahalo for joining us, and mahalo to all the participants.